Chicago Fire's Jocelyn Hudon knows exactly how Novak can cross over to Chicago PD next season. Chicago Fire's Jocelyn Hudon, who plays paramedic Lizzie Novak, was bumped up to a series regular in season 13, and she knows exactly how Novak can keep her role expanding with a Chicago PD crossover. While Chicago Fire season 14 is expected to have a shakeup in its cast, Hudon is hoping that Novak will remain on the NBC series for the long haul. Novak has left a remarkable impression on the show with her light comedy and impactful work ethic in Ambulance 61. Novak has also developed a strong partnership with Violet McCamey as they tackle work and personal matters together. During an interview with TV Insider, Hudon spoke about how Novak has found a new home with Firehouse 51, which wasn't easy for her, as she was a floater who worked in various firehouses without settling into a permanent spot. Hudon is particularly fond of Novak's friendly bond with paramedic partner Violet, as well as how passionate they both are when tackling intense medical cases and bonding over relationships. Hudon also had an interesting idea about how Novak could cross over with Chicago PD next season for an intense episode. Read Hudon's quote below. Hudson's comments on Novak's potential future in Chicago Fire season 14 showed that she is fully invested in further developing Novak's characterization, which includes her desire to appear in a crossover episode with Chicago PD. Novak has already proven in Chicago Fire that she isn't afraid to run towards any dangerous situation. Her job as a paramedic is always to save lives, albeit from a fire or a life-threatening medical scenario. Novak has also proven her toughness, not only as a paramedic, but also in her interest in martial arts, which she practices in her spare time. A potential appearance in Chicago PD would be an intriguing way to witness Novak's abilities when placed in dangerous scenarios outside of her comfort zone. For example, as Hudon suggests, a crossover episode in which Novak and Violet's ambulance gets robbed, or they get caught up in action involving Sergeant Hank Voight's intelligence unit, and the criminals they're pursuing could be must-see TV. Hudson also expressed interest in showcasing Novak's physicality, suggesting that she can tackle bad guys to assist the police and demonstrate that she's more than just a paramedic. Hudon's commentary on having Novak appear in a crossover episode of Chicago PD would be an effective way to branch out Novak's role in the One Chicago universe. Novak has been one of the most refreshing characters in Chicago Fire thanks to her charismatic presence and her transformation from a loner working in various firehouses to being a team player and recognizing her newfound place in Firehouse 51. Novak's contribution to Chicago PD could also elevate that show, since there haven't been as many crossovers in recent years. Jocelyn Hudon, the newest star blazing her own trail on Chicago Fire as paramedic Lila Novak, has already left a mark on Firehouse 51. But as the flames of the firehouse flicker and loyalties burn bright, Hudon has one eye on the street and a plan that could take Novak straight to the precinct on Chicago PD. In fact, if the actress had her way, Lila wouldn't just pop in for a cameo. She'd demand a badge of her own. I think Novak could really stir things up at the district, Hudon says with a sly grin, seated in the makeup trailer between takes. She's seen what happens on the street, on calls, dealing with overdose victims, gang violence, and domestic disputes. She's the kind of paramedic who doesn't just patch people up. She asks questions. She remembers faces. That could make her an unexpected ally or enemy of intelligence. In Hudon's ideal crossover, it all begins with a call gone wrong. A woman is found unconscious in a West Side alley after an apparent overdose. Novak and her partner rush to stabilize her, but as Lila reaches for her Narcan, she notices something odd. A small tattoo on the victim's wrist, faded but unmistakably tied to a local human trafficking ring. That's when Novak realizes this isn't just a random overdose, Hudon explains. She's seen that mark before, twice in fact. And both women disappeared within 24 hours of being discharged. But here's where Novak's firehouse instincts clash with her street smarts, which brings her suspicions to the attending detective at the scene, none other than Chicago PD's Haley Upton. She's met with polite skepticism. Let the cops handle the investigating, Upton warns. But Novak isn't the type to sit back and wait. She's headstrong, Hudon admits with a laugh. She starts digging on her own, looking through incident reports, even visiting a local clinic where one of the victims sought treatment. It gets dangerous, and intelligence notices. It's Detective Jay Halstead, who sees his own younger self in Novak's fiery passion, who steps in first. He warns her, "You're messing in waters that pull you under." But Novak has already connected dots that intelligence missed, and the lines between paramedic and investigator blur fast. Cue the crossover event. In a two-night, 2-hour special, Firehouse 51 finds itself in the crosshairs of a trafficking network. A victim Novak tried to protect is snatched from Med under false pretenses, and Novak is threatened outside her apartment. Rather than back down, she turns to the only people who might believe her now, the intelligence unit. And Voight notices. Voight respects people who take risks for the right reasons, Hudon muses. I think he'd admire Novak's tenacity, even if it puts her in danger. She's not someone you can keep in a box, and Voight knows how to use that. In the final hour of the crossover, Novak goes undercover, posing as a street medic for an unregulated clinic tied to the traffickers. Her performance is shaky but real. The stakes rise when she's forced to administer medical aid to one of the traffickers mid-operation, buying intelligence just enough time to swoop in. The sting operation is a partial success, but Novak's place in the action earns her an invitation from Voight himself. "If you ever get tired of just watching from the sidelines," he says, tossing her a look, "there's always room for someone like you at intelligence." It's a tease, of course, but a powerful one. Back in real life, Hudon leans in. "That line would break the fandom," she says, laughing. "You'd have people begging for Novak to join Chicago PD. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't imagined it. I mean, there's something thrilling about Lila in a Kevlar vest, still carrying her trauma she saw on the rig. But now she's using that to prevent the cycle instead of just responding to it. And there's plenty of room for Novak to evolve." Hudon envisions a character arc that mirrors the best of both worlds. Someone with the emotional intelligence of a paramedic, but the steel spine of a detective. She wouldn't be squeaky clean. That's what makes her interesting. Maybe she bends the rules. Maybe she makes a call that gets someone hurt. But that's how she grows, Hudon says. And working under Voight, that'll test anyone. Of course, the logistics are tricky. Lila Novak is currently a full-time presence on Chicago Fire, and removing her from the rig would leave a noticeable void. But Hudon has a solution for that too. What if she starts part-time at intelligence, just consulting? Maybe she's a liaison for medical-related crimes. Then she gets pulled deeper and deeper in. Suddenly she's testifying in court, tracking suspects, working late nights at the district. You blink, and Novak's wearing a detective's shield. And she's got chemistry, too. Hudon grins when asked which Chicago PD character Novak would clash, or connect, with. Oh, her and Atwater would butt heads. She doesn't tolerate silence when there's injustice. But they'd respect each other, especially when things get heavy. And I definitely think she and Ruzek would flirt. There's something electric there, right? But ultimately, it's not just about drama and romance. It's about the Chicago universe growing in organic, character-driven ways. I think fans want real journeys, Hudon says. And Lila Novak has one. She's new, she's ambitious, and she seemed too much to just walk away. Letting her cross into PD wouldn't just be cool, it'd make sense. Only time will tell if the producers listen. But if Jocelyn Hudon gets her way, the next big one Chicago crossover will do more than shake up Firehouse 51. It'll forge a new kind of hero on the streets of Chicago. And her name will be Novak.